Welcome back to Chicago Sports Update. This is not the voice of Matt. This is Brandon. Matt's a little under the weather, but we have someone better. We have the better half of Matt, Mrs. Megan Kane. Megan, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Brandon?
I'm great. It's great to have you on the show. I love doing the show with Matt, but it's fun to have someone new on the show. So
Yeah, well, I haven't done a sports update, so I usually do the other shows.
correct.
So it'll be fun.
So not a whole lot of sports going on in the city. The Blackhawks are back on track. They've won three in a row, uh, including a win over St. Louis,
Hey, Lewis.
which was great. Did you guys watch that?
We did watch most of it. I think we got a good chunk of it, but
It
yeah, I was very excited to see them actually playing somewhat well. So that was very
that
exciting
well
to see them back on
the
track. Yeah.
first period was real rough to watch. It was real sloppy, and St. Louis was playing their physical play, and the Hawks started to do it. And it was like, this is not fun to watch. It was ugly, and then it seemed like after the first period, they kind of just played their own game and took care of business, and that's the way they should be playing.
This is true. I agree. It was, yeah, I
The
agree.
the Bulls continue to win somehow. Still amazes us. I know it amazes Matt as well as myself. They're battling Toronto for the third seed. Just from seeing the rest of the Bulls schedule, I'm assuming they will get the third seed. And today they signed former Bull Ronnie Brewer. He will help them make the push to the playoffs, although I don't believe he is allowed to play in the playoffs. And then we have the White Sox and the Cubs start to their mediocre seasons, both off to a mediocre start. It's
This is true. Yes.
nice to have a Cubs fan on the show. I'll just,
Yeah, this is true. I know. Although the child, poor baby, gets to be a White Sox fan as part of the prenuptial agreement.
well, he can wear the black and white, and I guess silver colors right now, but I mean, as he grows older, I feel like he's destined to be a Cubs fan. I mean,
I m-
Daddy can't
my
control
brother,
him.
my brother is trying. I'm staying out of it. I care
It's
about
it's
football,
rough
so,
enough.
so I'm staying out of it. They can. Well, his godfather's also a Cubs fan, so it's going to be very interesting to see what the baby actually turns out to be a fan of.
I think
So
that's pretty cool. That's gonna be fun.
it's I just got a very dirty look from the dad.
That's funny. So that's about it. Bears haven't done much. They did sign an offensive lineman, a center, but other than that, not a whole lot going on with the Bears. Basically, this weekend was more dedicated to NCAA basketball. UConn won the championship, and most importantly, in our eyes, WrestleMania happened. And I
Yes, WrestleMania, brother.
I know it was Matt's first WrestleMania. I'm assuming it was yours.
I was actually my first WrestleMania. Whereas I have the craziest story of how I ended up liking wrestling. When I was little, my mom worked third shift, so my dad was home with us. So dad got control of the TV. So I'd come home from dance class and sit down and watch Monday Night Raw with my dad.
That's awesome.
So that's how I got into wrestling. So
So how long? I mean, how long ago? How long do you go back then?
oh, pretty far. I was little, probably like 6.
Wow.
So it's funny when you have to school your husband in wrestling.
Yeah, I know he maybe watched a little as a kid, and then I know he hadn't watched in
I
a very long time, and is just getting back in it. I think it's pretty fun, and it's kind of cool that you have to kind of guide him
it is
through.
he's got cousins who are, 8, 9, 10, and they're like huge wrestling fans, and they look at me and they're like, "How do you know about wrestling?" I'm like, "I know about wrestling."
It's funny that you say the reason why you got into it is because your mom was out working, and so your dad had to control the TV. My dad always hated wrestling, and the reason why I got into it is because my mom the hillbilly that she is, a big wrestling fan. And so there you go. She allowed me to watch wrestling as a little kid, and that's how I got started. So I
Oh,
think I think the way you started watching is probably more the norm, where, well, dad let me watch wrestling, not so much, well, my
yeah.
mom. So it's kind of fun.
My mom still doesn't understand why I watch it today. So it's part mindless entertainment, part just crazy sports.
Can't
So it's just
you can't explain it to people who don't like it
you
or
just
don't.
yeah.
You really can't. I don't even try. I just say that's fine. You don't like it. I know it's fake. You don't have to tell me it's fake. Thank you. And it's no more or less fake than the programming you watch every day on your TV and the movies that you go see. So that's kind of just my rebuttal when, well, it's fake. That's usually my response to that.
I know, but like as the WWE for its whatever is such a there's such a marketing and like the genius that comes out of that. Like their entire organization, there's just a genius that comes out of that. No matter if it's an actual wrestler coming up with something or if the WWE comes up with it, it's just some of it's really fantastic and some of it's just utterly just stupid. But it's a train wreck to watch, and you just can't take your eyes off of it. So the WWE does their job and does it well.
Well, and
So
they have their ups and downs, just like any, I guess, organization does.
yeah.
And for a while it was pretty bad to watch. I still watched because I just love wrestling, but there were a lot of people who, stopped watching and are now coming back because currently they're hitting everything spot on. The writing is back to being really good. The
Hmm.
characters are really good. Anyway, so WrestleMania happened.
Yes, it did.
What I mean, there were so many highlights. I don't even know where to start. Where like what did you guys find the best? Like, give me your thoughts.
Daniel Bryan, that was like his whole like just his night was just incredible. For as much as he's this little tiny guy and he like destroyed it and he beat Triple H. He made it to beating Triple H. So like that was quite impressive. I think that was kind of a highlight for the evening. I think Monday Night on Raw, somebody had said a garden gnome had beat Triple H,
Yeah,
and then to
they
see
call
Triple H Monday Night on Raw just like walk away like a little girl, like a little angry little girl was just it was ridiculous.
I think he's also called several times a farm animal. So the garden gnome and a farm animal. He's such a little guy, but he's so good in the ring, and the crowd loves him.
He's very much a crowd favorite, and it's so interesting to see him be a crowd favorite. And I know he like joined the Wyatts for a while in some sort of move that he had going on, and it just like he's like the good guy. Like you can't like not like him, even though he looks like a hobo. You can't not like Daniel Bryan.
And yeah, and everyone likes him. Like,
Yeah,
there's a lot of guys where crowds are split, fans are split. Daniel Bryan, I don't know anyone who doesn't like him. Like
yeah,
every wrestling fan, no matter how big it, like if they watch casually or if they're really into it, no matter what, everyone loves Daniel Bryan.
yeah.
That was definitely a highlight. I especially liked the fact that he beat Triple H without any interference or anything.
This
Uh,
is true.
it was just a clean match. He wins. That was great. I think a lot of people predicted that so he could get into the title match, and then I think a lot of people thought he might win, but everyone was a little bit more unsure of that. I think everyone saw
Yeah.
him beating Triple H because they needed that, and then the main event was like, okay, so what's going to happen? Especially after what everyone had just witnessed with the Undertaker
I
actually
can't.
losing to Brock Lesnar. What was your guys' reaction?
Oh, I was so mad. That was such a crappy match. It was like the Undertaker wasn't like in it, and he's like, "Oh, I have the streak. I'm not, Brock Lesnar's not gonna win," and he just and if he didn't try or whatever. But it was a sad match to watch,
It was
and
it was a bad match. It was slow paced
it was a bad.
and very sloppy. And part of the reason why maybe Undertaker looked like he didn't care, I don't know if you saw this. He actually suffered a concussion and was in the hospital overnight. So when I read that, I'm
Oh, that explains a lot.
I'm not sure he wasn't supposed to. I'm not sure he
I
was supposed to
don't.
lose. Like the reason why I say that is, I mean, he had the concussion, so it's possible that he didn't kick out because he kind of didn't know what was going on in the match.
Yeah,
And Paul Heyman's reaction seemed more of shock than like, yes, my guy won. Like it took him like 5 seconds. Like Brock Lesnar wins, and then Paul Heyman's reaction was like a little slow to me. Like, oh yeah, you won. So I don't know if that was a little like, oh my God, what just happened? Okay, Brock Lesnar won, or if it's just, I mean, Paul Heyman's a genius actor anyway, so I don't know, how truthful that is. But yeah, the real story is that Undertaker did receive a concussion. So it, I don't know when he got it though. I don't know if it was
yeah.
at the
I
end.
don't. Yeah, haven't heard. I actually didn't hear that until you just brought it up. So it explains a lot, and for as much as it's not real, it's still there's still a lot of real things happening, and
Oh, so many
you
things can
smack your
happen.
head, you smack your head.
Well, and then right in the main event, the triple threat match, where Batista does the Batista bomb on the table to Daniel
Yeah,
Bryan,
to
and
Superman.
then Randy Orton at the same time does the RKO. Randy Orton lands on a monitor. I don't know if you guys noticed that.
Oh,
He
yeah. Well, they were both
really,
down.
really Randy Orton really messed up his back. It was cut open, and it took him a while to get up. And Batista showed concern, like I should probably slow the match down and make sure that Randy Orton can at least continue. I know they pulled out the stretcher, wink, wink, for Daniel Bryan, but
Yeah.
I was more concerned about Randy Orton because that was something that wasn't supposed to happen. But he was able to continue. That whole match was awesome too.
That was an awesome match. It was very like the play between the three of them was fantastic.
And even
It was a very good
e-
match to watch.
even when Bryan wasn't like in the ring and it was Orton versus Batista, they still delivered.
Yeah, that's still a good matchup anyway.
Right.
It's just Orton versus Batista. Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's a good match.
It's just I think the timing for like it just couldn't be the main event at WrestleMania. It was bad timing, and that's why Batista got so much heat, and I think that's why they kind of had to change. Like, oh, we kind of screwed up by doing this, and I think that's where they kind of changed directions. Speaking of changing directions, that's kind of what has happened with the Shield as of late.
Yeah.
They were always, pro pro Triple
Pro Triple
H,
H and his agenda.
and it kind of started with Kane going against the association because Kane is a
Yeah.
part of it, and I think Kane is the one that made him kind of turn, and it just since he's aligned with Triple H, they went against Triple H, and that was kind of cool to see them pretty much save Daniel Bryan from Triple
Yeah.
H winning back the title on Monday Night Raw. So that
Raw.
was kind of cool.
Yeah, it's actually kind of interesting to see like the chemistry of the Shield and how they just kind of like it's such a bizarre chemistry. Like Roman Reigns seems to be the most level-headed one of the group, and then they got like the spider monkey guy.
That
Like he just
is
it's
so
like
funny. You were the second person I've heard say that in 2 days, calling
and
him a spider monkey.
it's like they gave him a bunch of pixie sticks and some coke and let him go.
And it's talking about Ambrose, and he's actually really good on the mic, which is why originally they kind of had him as the leader of the bunch, and then as they kind of realized that Roman Reigns he has more of the look that the size and the mystique. that's
Yeah.
the prototypical WWE superstar has. So they kind of started pushing him as the leader. And then you have Rollins, who is actually probably the best in the ring, but doesn't really talk that well. So he kind of gets pushed to the back. And
He just kind of stands there and
he's not a huge guy
looks
either.
intimidating, but
He's not a huge guy either, but he's more of the Daniel Bryan, CM Punk type, where he's really good in the ring. He's really fast and hits all of his moves perfectly. So,
hmm
like you said, they all have a different personality, wrestling style, skill level, and it works. The three of them, it works together.
oh yeah, it's actually I really like the Shield. They're I think they bring a lot to the table, and them flipping on Triple H adds another level of interest to them.
Definitely, and it was kind of time for them to change anyways. They were getting a little stale for a while. I think they thought about breaking them up. You saw tension a few weeks ago. Well,
Yeah.
we're probably not talking about over a month ago,
Oh
where
yeah.
it looked like either Roman Reigns was going to split or Dean Ambrose was going to split, and then they kind of just like forgot about that and said, well, instead we'll just
Let's be
we'll
friends.
just turn these guys face instead of and keep them together, and it worked.
Yeah.
Speaking of threesomes, the Wyatts. What is your I like? It seems like more of the male audience really likes the Wyatts, and the female audience doesn't like them so much. So how do you feel about them?
I'm neither here nor there on the Wyatts. I think they're kind of they're like Appalachian mutants. Like they've been, they've been like in the woods for so long, and they somebody came out and said, "Hey, would you like to wrestle?" They're like, "Oh, sure, why not? Got some moonshine, let's go."
They
Like it's so awkward because you're like,
they're really
I
creepy, which is why I love
they
them.
are creepy.
My cousin told me when they first arrived on the scene, he really liked them because they reminded him of like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That kind of just weird, real weird, spooky thing. And now I mean the
Actually,
WrestleMania.
they're more like House of a Thousand Corpses, like that
Well, it's funny
family.
you say it because I always thought of the House of a Thousand Corpses as almost a ripoff of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So I guess it all can kind of fit. But yeah, like real, like you're probably even more right on with just
Just because they're weird and they're like that level of weird, the one Wyatt during their match at WrestleMania was like pulling the backward spider crawl thing
yeah,
from The Exorcist, like no problem,
right, yeah. Bray
just to
Wyatt
freak
was
out
doing
John Cena.
doing some weird things, and especially him, what they kind of remind me of, uh, like where they would be from, and it was perfect being that WrestleMania was in the Superdome, not the Silver Dome, like Hulk Hogan accidentally said in the beginning of WrestleMania, and got ripped by both Stone Cold and The Rock. And pretty much they kept it up all night making fun of Hogan. I thought that was pretty funny. But
uh,
so they were in Louisiana, and that's kind of what they remind me of is like, especially Bray Wyatt, the leader. Like he seems like he's from the Bayou, real creepy. I don't know. Did you guys watch the True Detective?
no, we didn't. We actually don't have HBO,
Okay. Well, that
but
like it took place in Louisiana and real weird, creepy bayou hillbilly, creepy
creepiness.
people, and that's kind of what they remind me of. So I was like, how perfect is it that WrestleMania is what I would consider their own backyard, and it was kind of cool that they did their entrance music live. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, they had a couple people with their live entrance music, which was kind of cool. Once again, it lends itself to the WWE and their their excellence in theatrics
And well, I mean, the biggest
and
show
just
of the
media
year.
in general. Yeah,
WrestleMania is their
is
big show,
WrestleMania.
and they, I mean, they had a couple of, like you said, a couple of different entrances with live music, and everything is more bigger, spectacular, and
Bigger, better,
it really is. So
fancier at WrestleMania.
A couple other things I just want to touch on. Cesaro turning on Jack Swagger on
Oh yeah, well, they saw
Sunday.
that one coming a mile
Yeah,
away.
that has been leading up. Finally, it was completely like done, which I loved. And then he goes on to win the Battle Royal with one
The
of the
Andre the
most,
Giant Memorial match. Yeah.
which with one of the most impressive things I've ever seen. He scoops up the Big Show, carries
And
him
just
over
like
to the ropes, and throws him over.
just launches him.
And like I've seen other guys kind of lift the Big Show, like kind of lift him, but he just like really did just kind of pick him up and like.
Just like he was a sack of potatoes, just lifted him up, and you were like, "How does this man lift the Big Show?"
And
I mean,
if Cesaro couldn't top himself at WrestleMania on Monday Night Raw, I thought this was really cool. He declared himself a Paul Heyman guy,
yeah,
and I thought that was awesome. I did not see that coming at all, and I think it will work for him. Usually, guys who end up being Paul Heyman guys end up with a title within the not so distant future. I heard that WWE really wanted to push Cesaro towards a title. I think this just kind of proves that. So be on the lookout for him to really, you know,
yeah, he's gonna make a name for himself.
yeah. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I think he's got Paul Heyman in his corner now. So watch out, world.
Uh, I'm not sure what else there really was on WrestleMania. Like there wasn't a lot of like the number of matches for WrestleMania wasn't that
Yeah,
great, but most of the matches were really good, and were longer matches. Like the Cena
yeah, there were
Wyatt
some
match,
very long
the
matches.
Cena Wyatt match didn't have the pace of some of the other matches, but the storytelling in the match was pretty awesome. Like you said, where Bray was doing like that backwards crawl thing,
Yeah, that was honestly really creepy.
and then the whole like look on Cena's face where it's like, do I kind of play
What do I do? What do I
do
do?
I play into the evil game and just hit him with a chair while he's actually waiting for it, or do I stay with my kind of good boy image and beat him that way? And kind of the storytelling of the look on Cena's face, the look on Bray Wyatt's face. I thought the whole thing was uh, theatrically done brilliantly.
Oh yeah. See, and that's once again, it's the WWE and their storytelling machine. It's just that's what they excel at.
And I think that match, the storytelling was probably the number one storytelling kind of match. So that was pretty cool. The women's
Oh yeah.
match, did you guys even like okay, as a woman, do you like the Divas matches?
I actually I watch Total Divas on E
Okay.
because like some of the things that they do are just ridiculous.
At
And
least
it's
somebody does.
yeah. I just got a comment from the Peanut Gallery that says at least somebody watches
You know
Total
what?
Divas.
I was watching at a friend's house and he had other people over and there was another girl there who apparently watches it religiously and she bases the divas on who she cheers for and who she doesn't by that show, like who she likes on that show. And I found it kind of odd. Like I Matt has mentioned in the last few seconds. I didn't really realize anyone watched it. So, but okay, like I can understand watching the divas show. You actually like them watching them in the ring?
I, it's just kind of like a giant cat fight. Honestly, this is what it turns into. I don't really. It's neither here nor there. I think it's kind of like bathroom break,
It
feed the
is. To me,
baby,
it's.
kind of.
I think part of the problem is they now have just a ton of divas
They have a ton of
on the
divas
roster.
like that.
They only allow
Exploding.
them one match a show, and so then they try to like throw them as many in as a match as possible.
Yeah,
I'd be okay if they maybe dedicated two matches a show. I mean, Raw is 3 hours long. WrestleMania was 4 hours long. If you want to count the pre-show, which almost everyone saw because almost everyone who watched WrestleMania watched it on the WWE
and
network. So basically, it was like a 6 hour show.
Yeah.
Dedicate another match, another 20 minutes to the divas. Allow a little bit more one-on-one matches, a little bit more storytelling on Raw for those of us who don't take the time to watch their
So does
quote
Divas.
reality show, which I don't think there's. I think it might be like 15% reality. I don't really watch it, so I can't say for sure. How real do you think it is?
Oh, I totally don't think it's real at all. It's all fake.
I mean, most of the
And
reality shows with celebrities are fake, anyways. I think
oh yeah.
like the one with Kiss with Gene Simmons. I've watched that a couple times.
Oh
Completely
yeah,
fake.
Dynasty fake. Everything
Right.
fake.
Yeah, like it's. I don't know if they have a script, but they make sure you know that like what's about to happen. Like, oh, I'm walking over here now. Like they actually will say it, but you know what I mean. Like it's just kind
Oh
of
yeah.
like that. That's not how people act in real life. So this can't be reality.
Oh, I know. Like it's just like, oh, one of the Bella twins is dating John Cena, and
I
like
thought they broke
it's
up.
so
They broke
ridiculous.
up.
And they broke up, and then I think they got back
That's
together, and they probably broke up again. And the other one's engaged to Daniel Bryan, and it's just you're like, how did Daniel Bryan get one of the Bella twins? This does not
okay. But did
make
you see?
any sense.
Did you see Daniel Bryan like without his shaggy hair and his beard?
I
Like
haven't seen him like pre-caveman,
he
so
he wasn't a terrible looking guy, but he looked like he was 12. So
he probably does look like he's 12. I would agree with that.
and so he uh he wasn't. I wouldn't call him ugly. So I don't know if he has the looks. Like if you saw one of the Bella twins walking down the street and they weren't famous, they just a woman that looked like that, and a woman that looked like Daniel Bryan, that woman would probably never look at that guy. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
guess it pays to be in the show.
Whoa, I just Googled Daniel Bryan, no beard. He does look like he's 12.
Yeah, he
Totally looks like he's 12. So, I like I said, like I think Total Divas is totally fake, and like one of the other divas is engaged to one of the Usos, and
okay.
it's just
See,
so.
that I didn't know. That I didn't know.
I think I want to say it's Trinity,
So I
maybe.
can't. I don't know. To me, they're like I know a couple of their names, and then like I would say 80% of the rest of them, they're all kind of the same to me.
Well, there's like two of them that are the same, and I can't remember which one's actually like engaged to the Uso. So, oh, yes. So it's just mindless entertainment.
Entertainment.
Well, yeah, I'm like,
And then
it's nothing.
also suppose if you're a wrestling fan and you're gonna watch something like that, it's kind of nice to have a wrestling background as a backdrop for the show.
This is true. Like you're like, oh, okay, I know what's going on here.
I might if I believe it's only going to be on the WWE network, but there's going to be another reality show called I think it's like the House of
Legends
Legends or
House.
Legends House. That looks
Yeah.
pretty good. And a lot of times WWE calls some of their wrestlers legends, and I'm like, well, no, he wrestled a long time ago, but I would never classify that guy as a legend. But from what I saw, the guys that are going to be on that show, pretty much all legends. Like these guys all held
It's
titles,
like
and
Roddy Piper, and I think Mean Gene Green.
yeah.
I think we saw. Yeah, I would watch it.
So yeah, that looks like it could be entertaining. And I already saw that I believe Hogan signed for season two. So season one hasn't
Ah,
even aired yet. And I believe I saw that today on probably Twitter or something that Hogan signed for season two. So that should be fun. Uh,
well, Hogan's got to pay for his divorce.
so I asked about your reactions on a lot of things. I want to get back to the the whole Taker. I know we talked about this earlier. The Taker and Brock. Like okay, I was with a group of people, and when Taker lost, we were silent. You saw the faces of the people in the crowd, how stunned they were. That's kind of how we were. Like we were just
Yeah,
like, what just happened? were you like were you and Matt just kind of like, huh?
Even the baby was like, "What's going on?"
That's all.
Like, when silence. Our house was quiet. Like Monday afternoon, my dad, like, ended up talking to my dad, and I was like, "Dad, the Undertaker lost," and he's like, "Oh, that was planned, you know that." I'm like, "But still, the Undertaker lost."
Well, and
My dad
I think
was stunned.
a lot of people just didn't think it would be Brock Lesnar that would beat him. I always kind of thought that the day that it comes where Taker loses at WrestleMania, it'd be to someone more like John Cena, maybe the return of The Rock one more time, uh, maybe Triple H one more time, something like that. I don't think anyone really saw
Yeah, Brock
Brock.
Lesnar was like, "Really, him, him?"
And like he comes and goes. Like, yeah, he was on Raw this week, but will he be on Raw next week? We might not see him
Yeah,
for 6 more months. So
I
I
agree.
think a lot of people were questioning like, why Brock Lesnar?
Oh, I agree. I agree. It shouldn't. I was like, "Are you kidding me, Brock Lesnar?" I'm like, "Where'd he come from?"
But then
He's not like a main character.
no,
He's not somebody who's a consistent player to beat the Undertaker. I would have imagined somebody who'd been a consistent
and
part of the
I
WWE.
think your second comment was more accurate. Like he probably is a major player, but he's not a consistent superstar. Like
Yeah,
and it's because of his contract. He's not. He has it in his contract where he only makes a certain amount of appearances in a year, and so he's not going to be around all the time. He's not going to be able to hold titles because of this. He doesn't have a long-term future with the WWE because of
yeah,
this. I think that's kind of the reason why. But at the same time, one of my favorite things in wrestling is when something unpredictable does happen because it doesn't always have like I would say 90% of the time if you watch wrestling you could go okay well yeah we saw
we know
this
what's gonna
coming
happen.
and
Yeah.
I mean Brock winning was like wow no one saw that coming so that was kind of cool that it actually did shock me.
Oh yeah, that was like the whole loss was just shocking, but it's yeah, like once again it just goes back to how the WWE moves their storylines.
Yeah,
It's
and they didn't say that this is the last of the Undertaker, like this is the last you'll ever see him. But
yeah, it's
it's
just kind of like
hard to imagine him coming back to go to 22-1. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like what's the purpose of him? So I wonder if that really
if
is
we'll see him
it.
again.
Yeah, like uh a lot of guys they have a kind of a retirement match. Ric Flair had a retirement match. Shawn Michaels had a retirement match. Undertaker just lost, and now you kind of expect to just not see him again. So it's
Yeah, which is crazy for like the career that he has had. For him to have lost and like that be it, that sucks.
yeah,
That's like awful.
and I hope they don't. I hope he has one more match where they kind of make it known that this is his last match. Like this is the last time you'll ever see the Undertaker. Because
Yeah.
if that was like I didn't enjoy the match, and I
I
would
don't think anybody enjoyed the match. Like it was just a you're like, what's going on? You're trying to figure out what's going on with the Undertaker, and
He looked old.
he looked well. He looked he looked like he wasn't with it, and I think part of that was the concussion story. So it just for him to go out like that
and
is not right.
part of it
Like that's
is
just not right.
part of it is Brock Lesnar wrestles very uh the stiff is the terminology. He wrestles very stiff where like a lot of his stuff actually lands and hurts people.
Yeah.
And I think that wasn't the best opponent for someone who is older. I believe Undertaker is in his early to mid 50s and so he's a little more fragile than someone
Yeah.
the age of a Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was just the smartest thing to have the Undertaker wrestle a guy like that. someone who isn't that smooth of a wrestler. However, I will say to Brock's credit, if you noticed when he usually gives his finishing move, the F5 to guys, he kind of doesn't care about their well-being. He just really tosses them, and it's kind of scary to watch. With the Undertaker, if you noticed, he kind of made sure that Undertaker landed on his back. So he was kind of protecting the Undertaker, knowing that he is a little more fragile. So I think Brock kind of realized, like, I'm wrestling someone who's pretty old and
Yeah. I
evidently
mean,
could be his last match. I really hope not.
I really hope not either. Like just like I said, for like the career that the Undertaker has had. I mean, like if you go back and look at, we were watching the Mick Foley um, documentary on Netflix, and you watch those matches he had with Mick Foley, and for the incredible career he has had, you don't want to see him go out on such a terrible match on such a low note. Like it just
And
is
it's
not.
not the loss. It's not the loss. It was the
But it
fact
was
that it was
just
a brutal match to
it
watch,
was a brutal match to watch, and
and
you don't
that's
want to see him because that's not him, and that's not how
and even
what he's capable
and
of.
maybe even if we knew it was his last match, even though if it was a bad match the way it was, maybe we would have still appreciated a little bit more. Like, yeah, it's kind of awful, but you know what? Enjoy it because you'll never see it again. We didn't
Yeah,
know it was gonna happen that way. Even the crowd was not into it, and I think it's because everyone really thought it was a foregone conclusion that Taker's not going to lose to Brock, so they didn't really get involved. They didn't get emotionally involved in it, because they're just like, well, we know what's going to happen. So, and then whenever the crowd is dead, that makes a match even harder to watch.
yeah, and that crowd was kind of sad anyway. They didn't see like they just seemed like it took a while to get them into anything.
Well, it seemed like early on in the night, that like the tag match on the pre-show, the crowd was really into it. The first match, or the first probably two matches, crowd was really into it, and then they kind of got tired, I think, and it took them a while to get back up, and
Yeah,
like basically until the main event is when they finally got back to their senses, and then the crowd on the next day, that's 2 years in a row where the crowd after WrestleMania has just been the best crowd of the year. So
yeah,
I think that's pretty cool.
I agree. I'm like that. Yeah.
Do you have anything else?
No, I think that's really it. I think we discussed WrestleMania, brother.
We've
So
discussed
it's nice to
WrestleMania.
see when they roll out some of the old guys too. So it's kind of fun, like The Rock and
That was a cool moment that we should mention. The whole Hogan, Rock, and Austin in the ring at the same time.
yeah,
Uh, People who barely watched wrestling ever in their lives know who all three of those guys
who
are.
those guys are. Yeah.
And I think maybe Hogan orchestrated that whole thing because he told, I don't know if you saw it, like could read his lips, but Hogan at the end told The Rock, "Thank you for coming down." So I wonder if he kind of orchestrated that whole thing. That was all pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, it's always fun to see The Rock and to see, those old guys and you're like, I know this guy. I've seen him like wrestle a million times. I can smell what The Rock is cooking. Um, it is fun to see those and to see like the Hall of Fame inductees. And I'm like, oh my God, I totally forgot about like, I think they inducted Lita.
Yeah,
Totally forgot about Lita. I
and
think she was
and
with
it's
like Christian and the Edge and, right? I think,
well, she was actually. I mean, if you don't get into like real life happenings, she was with Matt Hardy.
oh, she was with the Hardy Boys. Yeah,
She
that's
was
right.
with and she was actually. I mean, her and Matt Hardy were actually together in real life.
Oh,
And then in real life, she cheated on him with Edge, which ended up in a storyline. Then WWE kind of used it as a storyline for Edge versus Matt Hardy. And when they had their match, I believe it was probably a WrestleMania. And it was more of a real fight than you'll normally see. I believe the match actually ended with Edge kicking Matt Hardy in the head and actually knocking him out. And
Oh,
you don't usually
jeez.
see like a
Yeah.
knockout in wrestling. So that was
Yeah, that would have been a good match to see. Oh my
kind
god.
of also unfortunate though that WWE aired their
Dirty laundry,
dirty
yeah.
laundry and
That's
but it did make for I mean, I didn't it was entertaining, you know.
oh yeah.
So I kind
Oh,
of
I
felt
totally
bad for Matt Hardy, but he was so hard to root for anyway. So
this is true. I'm like, who else did they had Mr. T and so it's just kind of fun to see those and see them pay respect to their
especially like
their
we
group.
had a really big group of uh, people watching WrestleMania with us, and all sorts of levels of knowledge of fandom. And so, there were some people who just started watching again, kind of like Matt, and some people who hadn't watched in a long time. But like when they showed some of those Hall of Famers and the in the ring with those three, uh, it made other people go, "Oh wow, Lita! Wow, that's who
I
I
forgot
know.
about
Like
her.
that's when I watched. That's who was.
Yeah.
So that yeah, it's kind of cool that they do that for sure. Any other comments? Any other sports you wanted to touch on?
No, I think we hit everything. There's not much happening in baseball. It's kind of hockey right now. So I think we got everything.
Playoffs are approaching for both hockey and basketball.
They
Uh,
are coming.
we will definitely keep an eye on both, but more so the Blackhawks, as we're kind of more confident in how they will fare.
This is true, assuming they get their acts together and everybody stays healthy.
Yeah, we still don't know the full truth. Yes, Quinville said they'll be
And
back,
Quinville's very guarded.
as all hockey coaches are, and it's
They
very
are.
like, okay, you're saying this, but how truthful are you?
Yeah,
So,
definitely. I agree. So, although Kane apparently has been skating in practice, so
yes.
we shall see.
Well, I think I'm more confident in Kane being healthy and being back. It seemed like they were more like right away they told you, okay, he's not gonna be back. With Taves, it was like, oh, he's day to day, and then the next day, but he's out for the year. Well, like,
Yeah,
which
he's out
is
for
he
the
day to day
yeah.
or is he out for the year? Which is it? Oh, well, he could play if he wanted, but and it was kind of just like, well, what's his injury? And it looked like a shoulder, but they never said, and so
It's the mystery of hockey.
that's what kind of scared myself, and I think probably most Hawks fans, like, what really is the diagnosis of Taves.
Yeah, I would agree because you don't know what it is. You're like, okay, is he really hurt? What's going on?
And we all hope that, Brandon Bollig receives that type of injury in one of the stupid fights that he's in.
Oh God, Bolig just fights. It's like he just drops his gloves and fights anytime he can.
Well, against St. Louis, I believe it was the second period right after the Hawks scored, I think.
Oh yeah,
And they
yeah.
dropped the puck, and then him and Reeves from St. Louis just, well, we're not going to play hockey. We're just going to drop our gloves and, you know,
And try to beat each other. And like inevitably Brandon Bolig loses his helmet and he just gets wailed on.
yeah, he definitely lost the fight. I'm not sure.
He's just not good at fighting either. Like
He
it's
really isn't. Like, he's supposed to be the big protector. Like, when was the last time you saw him like take someone down with punches? I usually don't see it.
you don't see it. You don't see it. You just see him wailing on some guy and like then like for a whole 2 seconds and then whoever he's wailing on just like realizes him getting beat up and just wipes the ice with him.
Well, and
So I don't know why Brandon Bullock does it.
he's a stocky guy, but he's pretty short compared to the rest of the like the bully types, the goons. Most of the goons are big and
And Goonie.
goony, where he's
Yeah.
just more stocky. And I'm sure if he could throw one hell of a punch, but so can all the goons, and they've got the size advantage at least on when it comes to height. And I just think that doesn't really help him, especially on skates. Like,
Oh yeah, no, because you're moving and you got to balance, and I don't know why he does it. Just give up now, Brandon Bullock. Just stop fighting.
well, I think the problem is teams feel like there is a need for that, and I think if he stopped fighting, he'd soon find himself out of the NHL as his other skills aren't very. He's not
So
the most
it,
well-rounded player.
this is true. This is true, but it's just all he's got is fighting. He isn't very good at that either.
Right. But what I don't know. Whatever.
Oh.
Anyways, that's it for you then.
Yep, that's it for me.
That's it for me as well. Don't forget, all you listening out there, to please like our Facebook page. Please follow us on Twitter at IAP Podcasts, all one word. And any questions, comments, concerns, also you can email us at IAP Podcasts, all one word, at gmail.com. We hope Matt gets well. It was fun to have you on, Megan, and
Yeah, it was fun to
uh,
be here.
I never wish Matt to get ill, but if he happens to get sick another time, uh, love to have you on again.
I can fill in.
It's
I can
awesome.
fill in. It's fine.
We don't have to.
Yeah, it's fun to do the show. I haven't done, like I said, I haven't done a sports update, so it's nice to be here.
We don't have to talk White Sox either. I mean, we can
No, we
mention,
don't.
we can mention when they lose or something, because usually it's mentioning how the Cubs lose, and that's not as fun to me.
No, no, I could assume that it wouldn't be. I agree. I agree.
All right, for Megan, I'm Brandon,
Oh,
and for Matt,
uh,
thank you for listening.
Thanks for listening to Chicago Sports Update here on Intrepid Audio Productions. You can find us on Facebook and Twitter by searching IAP Podcasts, all one word. We make it easy to listen to us at home or on the go because you can subscribe to us via iTunes or on your browser at Spreaker.com. Listen to us on the go with the Stitcher Radio app, available for all smartphones. Want to interact with the team directly? Leave any questions, comments, or feedback you may have at our Facebook page. You can also like our page to know about special events, shows topics, and listen directly on our page to new and past episodes. Feel free to email us anytime at iappodcasts@gmail.com. IAP Podcasts, pioneering the best in independent podcasting.